Hello, everyone. It's Jerry at the Fledge, and welcome to another episode of Every Damn Day. I'm down in the sanctuary and broadcasting from here today. I've got a Release Fitness, Aurelia, and all them out there, building a gym that is a gym and a MMA and all of that that's open to everybody, especially those in the LGBTQIA plus community, kids and females that want to learn more about boxing, working out, MMA, without having to go to a gym and have a piece of pizza and hang out and dress a certain way and all that crap. Also want to give a shout out to the Eastside Neighborhood Organization and Summerfest that is happening Friday and Saturday. Come out and support some of the organizations, the artists, all of that. That'll be out there, and spend a little bit of the money with our friends at, the Avenue, the Green Door, all of our local businesses that are so important to our community. And last but not least is the champ, Coach Joe, or Mr. Joe Walker, and thisent.com, and two shout outs for him. One for helping to summarize some of the shows and publish them out there, but two for introducing me or getting me connected with Miss Sydney Walters. How you doing today, Sydney?
I'm doing well, Jerry. How are you doing?
I am doing great. So you told me you're in Washington, D.C.
Yes.
Today. What you been up to?
Yes, I'm in the D.C. area.
Oh, D.C. area? That's a pretty big area, right? That can even include Baltimore or parts of Virginia and that, right?
A little vague. Right now I'm in Fondest Church. It's inside of the Beltway.
I didn't mean it like that, but I used to hang out in Baltimore and D.C. quite a bit for different work I was doing. So it's a beautiful area.
Yeah, I love it here. I love being on the coast. It's about an hour from the mountains, 2 hours from the beach. I'm literally 15 minutes from the city. It's like the best of both worlds, of all worlds.
Yeah, and good public transportation. So you can probably take a train or something almost everywhere, right?
Yes, you can take the train, you can take the metro, bus, Uber.
Yeah.
Everything is here.
So anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, shout out to my best friend Kiana, and shout out to some writers at the Prompt Magazine, Kalaine, Jillian, and Josh. If it weren't for you guys, I would not have kind of been a part of this web, which has led me here to Jerry.
Well, I hope I do this right then, because I think you said it was your first kind of live video interview, which is an honor for me. So thank you for doing this.
Of course. Thank you.
So let's get into you a little bit. Where were you born and raised, and where'd you go to school, and what kind of leads you to do what you do now?
I was actually born and raised in this area. I've sort of just bopped around the DC area from house to house. I went to school. I went to Poe Middle School, and then I transitioned to Lake Braddock Secondary School. And then I went to Northern Virginia Community College. I never really, so I actually started out going into nursing school. That was my big plan. I wanted to be a registered nurse, but I was very quickly burned out by all of the work, and I did not enjoy it at all. I stayed writing the entire time though. So I kind of transitioned out of that to my job today, which is working in marketing and public relations.
Yeah. Could you imagine being a nurse in the last 2 years or 18 months or whatever it's been?
I've never really believed in fate except for that exact reason. I would not have made it through this pandemic as a nurse. I have no idea. I would not have been able to cope. You got to have a certain type of strength mentally to be a nurse, especially right now. So it was not meant to be.
Yeah, we're about a block away from a large hospital where I'm sitting right now. And so all of our neighbors, or not all of them, but a lot of them are in the health profession. And there's just constant stress. I mean, you can just feel it sometimes in the air.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah. You really feel for them.
When you were a kid, were you a writer?
Yes, I actually started writing when I was 10 years old. There was a poetry project at my school where we had to write sort of biographical poem about ourselves. And my teacher just loved it so much that that was the first time I was actually published. It's this coffee table book called Timeless Voices. and I was the front page or the first page in the book. So that really, just being published, I think that was the beginning of my drive to just keep on writing, keep on going down that path.
I always say that about wrestling. The very first wrestling tournament I ever went to, I won. And I think about, what if I would have lost that day? Would I have still kept on? Or, you know, there was an epiphany. It wasn't an epiphany, it was like a milestone that once I was given that, it was like, now I can do this. It was a certain confidence that made me fall in love with it a little bit more, maybe. Is that
Oh yes. Yeah,
something?
that was totally my motivation. I kind of knew, I was like, well, I can't stop now. One day I'm going to tell somebody that I was published at 10 years old, and here I am.
So you had that you already had that story ready for today?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's always in the back of my mind. If I'm ever feeling like, oh, I can't write today, I'm just like, no. I started writing when I was 10. I can do it today. If I did it then, I can do it now.
Did so you told me a story earlier when we were prepping that you are pretty shy.
Oh
How
yes.
and will you kind of repeat that, or however you want to transition into it a little bit?
Yes.
Mhm.
So, I mean, just from like when I was a really little girl, starting in probably kindergarten, I was the quiet girl in class. I was the shy one that would just turn beet red when she was called upon. I was always much more comfortable writing down my answers, doing my work, submitting it without saying a word. And that affected my participation grade in school. And it took me a long time to get to the point where I was comfortable speaking up and just kind of talking with my peers and trying to make friends. And so once I did get to that point, I had this, I had this little bit of confidence that I had built up. But by the time I reached adolescence, unfortunately, it was just shattered. As soon as I would start speaking up, I would be interrupted often, would be cut off, I would be talked over, or I would just be ignored completely. And I've always been sort of soft spoken. So it was just something that I thought would be this way for the rest of my life. I just always kind of assumed that, okay, no one's going to listen to me. I'm better off not saying anything at all. And I lived my life like that for a really, really long time, but I never stopped writing. And so I used that as an outlet pretty much up until my early 20s. I've always been writing, and I just kind of thought, if no one's going to listen to me, then perhaps they will read what I have to say instead.
That's I was scared to death every single day I ever went to school from kindergarten to 12th grade because I was shy. I didn't want to talk. I was anxious around people. Um, so I don't know that I get it exactly, but I empathize with that feeling. Do you consider
Mhm.
yourself, are you an introvert? Is it not related to introvert? Is it more related to anxiety or something?
It is related to anxiety, but I've definitely found my voice now. I am still shy. That's just a personality trait that I'll carry forever. But I'd say that I'm more of an ambivert. It really just depends on the day.
I
You
knew
know,
you were going to say that. I really,
yeah.
I actually was trying to get you to walk into that a little bit because
hmm
it can be so exhausting to be an ambivert, right?
Yeah, yeah. I
Um,
mean, like I said, like as soon as I started speaking up, I was just like, okay, I'm going to get ready for everyone to expect me to be this kind of loud, bubbly person now. So I really kind of just tried to do this big personality change inside of me. And I felt like I'd wasted a lot of time doing that because it didn't really go anywhere at that time.
but now it's, I mean, being in the job of PR and marketing, that, I mean, you're giving somebody else your voice, right? Is that the right
Yes.
way to say it?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I mean, copywriting, I'm writing for someone else as them. But it's good enough for me. I mean, if it's good enough for them, then it makes me happy. Everything that I say is being publicized now, and that's all I've really ever wanted. So I'm very lucky.
do you ever go back to those people that were cutting you off or ignoring you and saying, look, and rub it in their face?
No, as much as I would like to kind of be really like cool and just want my revenge and stuff like that, honestly, that's not going to help me grow as a person. So I forgive them. I forgive everyone. So
The,
it's
the, the perfect introvert answer, right? You don't need those fools anymore.
yeah, exactly.
So, um, when you, as you were writing, I think your genre right now is would be fiction, or maybe I don't know how exactly you would classify it. Nice touch on the clear mug in the water, by the way. That looked super classy. So
Oh,
thanks
thank
for
you.
classing up the show. Um, did you what kind of genres did you bounce around a lot as you grew, or have you ever written non? Oh, I guess PR is nonfiction, or is it?
Well, um, I grew up reading young adult novels. I was the quiet girl. I had the book covering her face. So I just really loved all these young adult fiction novels with strong female protagonists because that is what I wanted so badly for myself to be and turn into. And so I always stuck on the young adult fiction route. Although this novel, my first novel for the entire series, is also historical fiction because it is based on true events.
Yeah. Let's that's a perfect segue into it. Do you mind telling us about State of Grace?
Absolutely. So, State of Grace is set in the very real town of Centralia, Pennsylvania. And Centralia, Pennsylvania was a coal mining town in the 1900s that unfortunately had an eruption underground. A coal mining vein burst into flames and nearly destroyed the entire town. And it's pretty much, I would consider it the Chernobyl of America because it is still on fire to this day underground. You can see steam coming up from the ground. It doesn't have a zip code, it doesn't have schools or a post office. No one is allowed to move there, but there are about 5 or 6 remaining people there, and there's one church on a hill and a ton of cemeteries. And you can imagine why. Um, so when I just read about this town, it blew my mind that a place like this exists, and I had never really heard about it. It's actually the inspiration for the Silent Hill movie franchise. If
Hmm.
nobody knew that, that was the town that they based it off of. So I came across, I just kind of did my research because I love ruins. I love exploring ruins. That's just my thing. And I came across a newspaper clipping of a young boy that had fallen into a hole in the ground. And had he not been pulled out by his brother, he would have had just a horrible fate. He would have met a horrible, fiery death. And I just couldn't believe that that wasn't a big thing that we weren't hearing about around the country. So I saw a story there, and thus State of Grace was born.
So let's go to ruins for a second because we talked about that. Not quite ruins, but we talked about your tattoo. Is that an okay subject to
Yeah,
talk
sure.
about a little bit?
Check it out.
Because I want to make sure that you say about your proud heritage, if you don't mind. So, will you explain what the tattoo is? And
Yes. So this is a Viking ship. It's based off of an old pin that's been in my family for just a really, really long time. The pin is falling apart, and so I just wanted to kind of get it tatted on my body so that I always have it with me. I'm very proud to be Danish. Yeah, I mean, I'm very much into just old, sort of abandoned, broken down things.
yeah.
And I love to explore them. I've never been to Denmark. I've been to Mexico a few times. I've been to Ireland a handful of times. Each time I go, I explore old abandoned places. So I knew that I had to write about the town of Centralia,
Yeah.
ghost towns in general.
So, when you say a very long time for the pen, is that like 1,000 years or 500 years or somewhere?
I think it's about 100. Yeah,
About
100
yeah.
years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what I'm always fascinated about with like Denmark is how how progressive they are in their education, how progressive they are in the way that they look at policing, and the way that they look at what's it called, the like prison systems. They don't really have prisons like we think about, I don't think.
Yes, totally. Everything from their nutrition, their education, their work week. I believe that they can work no more than 30 hours a week or something like that, and they have a living wage. Maternity leave is very long there, and they also have paternity leave. I think it was voted as one of the happiest countries in the world. That and Sweden, I believe. They really got it going on. I'm
I,
very proud to be from Denmark.
I think between Sweden, Denmark, and Finland, they're in the top three happiest countries in the world every year, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I bet.
So you got to get there. You're going to get there, right?
One
You'll
day,
travel.
I still have family there, so I gotta meet them. There's some people.
Yeah. Um, so let's talk about the book a little bit more.
Yeah.
Um, can you give us like what's the story? Or is that too much for an? Yeah, I guess I don't know how to ask you. I don't want you to give away the ending or anything, but what's
Sure.
it generally about?
It follows a young girl named Grace who was born in the town of Centralia. She lived a normal, happy life with her mother and father until she was 4 years old when the coal mine eruption took place and inevitably took her father with it. And so it's really about just how she sort of navigates around this ruined town, what it's like for her to grow up in it with ashy skies and just smoke everywhere, broken foundation for her home, no money, just no nothing, the education being so poor. What it would be like if a young girl had to grow up in that town today. Although it is set exactly in that timeline when it happened.
Is that what actually happened? People stayed in the town after the explosion, or
They did, yes, and I people are still there, and I think it's crazy. Um, yeah, so the town was evacuated to an extent, but I believe that Pennsylvania just sort of gave up on them. They were just like these town folk. They're probably just really stubborn. Let's just sweep this all under the rug, and we'll never hear about it again. Um, but I refuse to accept that. So I took a fictional take on a true story.
so there's a lot of Danish in Pennsylvania still today, right?
I
Is
believe
that
there is,
true?
yes.
Is that part of your
Mhm.
motivation with the town too? I mean,
Yeah, a little bit. I made sure that her family is, the blonde haired, blue eyed, sort of original Danish look.
yeah. So do you? Has anybody? Well, how's the book doing? First of all, I mean, are you selling a lot? Are you winning awards? Have you
The
had
book,
any?
oh, yeah, I mean, I haven't won any awards or anything. So my official retail release is actually on September 7th.
Oh, okay.
So you've only actually been able to buy it online through my publisher, but I've sold about a book a day for the past 2 months. And that's very exciting for me because it hasn't even hit shelves yet. And I'm getting a lot of good written press. So yeah, sales are doing well. I hope that they do much better. And it's good to know that not only will they be in bookstores, but this will be in libraries around the country.
Oh, really? So
Yes.
there's already a deal for that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, there
I
is.
I think that is amazing. It seems like I'm trying to think. I don't think I've ever heard this story before, and um, I have a side of my family. Their name was the Deweeses, and they were Dutch, and they lived in the Pennsylvania area. So usually my uncle tells me all these different things about more like around Valley Forge is where they lived. I don't know where Centralia is. Centralia?
Centralia. Yes.
Centralia.
Centralia is about 2 hours west of Philadelphia.
Okay.
Um, it's pretty much, it's sort of the middle of nowhere, kind of. So, I mean, I understand anyway why you wouldn't hear about it, but because it was such a catastrophic event, I'm a little disappointed that I didn't know about this much earlier.
Is it toxic now, do you think? Is there any testing on the environment and all of that?
Yes. So they actually have these sort of venting tubes that they've stuck around the ground. The underground temperature is so incredibly high. I don't know the exact measurement, but it is just enormously hot. And the carbon monoxide is it hasn't proven to be fatal, but if you were to stick your face up against the ground for an hour, I can't imagine that you'd be healthy. So yeah, there's a
The-
ton of carbon dioxide.
Did that present itself as poor health outcomes for people in that area?
You know, I haven't read anything about the statistics about it, but I can imagine so.
Yeah.
I did put that into my book though, because that is just something that I'm sure that would happen. And I have
And
asthma myself, so I can't imagine.
yeah, I don't know. I want to read your book. I want to go Google all this stuff right after the show and all of that. But I did put a link to the mascotbooks.com and their marketplace in the State of Grace book.
Oh, great.
So, and
Yep, that's
people
the
can
one.
order it there and it'll get shipped to them and all of that good stuff, right?
Yes, for paperbacks. If you'd prefer an ebook, that option will be available on September 7th.
I saw that this is also listed in Google Books, but that's not where you can order it, right? It's just kind of the history. Oh,
You can. I'm not sure that you can order it through Google Books right now. Everything is sort of pending. The only outlet I have until my retail release is just through my publisher.
okay. But on September 7th, I can come back here and post some more stuff
Yes.
because I do see that it says no ebook available yet.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
how'd you, so if I'm a young author, I want to get my book published, but a lot of people that I talk to that are authors around here, they self-publish, right? They give it to Amazon and all of that. But it looks like you went around, or you didn't do that. You have a real publisher. Is that the right
Yeah.
way to
That's
say it?
true. Yes. Yeah. I just, I knew that I could self-publish it through Amazon, but I'm very much still a part of the age where I enjoy holding things, CDs, DVDs. I am not ready to let go of that. So I like holding a physical copy, and I want people to still be able to have a book that they can flip the pages and really grip when the story is actually becoming gripping. So I just set out a bunch of publishing queries to a bunch of independent outlets, just so many of them. Um, and it was pretty discouraging because if you Google how to write a publishing query, they say expect to wait 3 months because there are just stacks of manuscripts for all these publishers everywhere. But I suppose I got lucky. I found one just right here in the DC area, and they said that they were really interested in my story. I sent in the first 3 chapters of the book, and the rest is history.
Did you write this during COVID
I
or
started
before?
writing this on November 24th, 2019. And I sort of, I didn't really think it would go anywhere, but I kept at it anyways. And then when the pandemic started, my job basically got shut down, so I didn't really have anything to do. So I wrote the majority of the book in the pandemic. It took me about 3 months, yeah, between March and June. Yes, I was one of those pandemic authors.
And that's why the reason I ask you that is because everybody wanted to switch everything they were doing during the pandemic. So people were, maybe they worked in the food industry or something, and then they wanted to start maybe trying to write a little bit of software or writing a book or become an artist. And so it seemed like it would have gotten even more competitive. But I think a lot of people just tried to self-publish, which I don't know, kind of seems, I don't know, anybody can do it, so it's not as what's the right word, prestigious maybe.
Doesn't feel as accomplishing, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
mean, I always knew that I would publish this book. No matter what, this book was going to get published. But I'm just happy that I got to do it my way. So there it is.
were were you did you always have this persistence even when you were shy and had that book in front of you? Has that been a quality that has always been there?
Yes. Yeah. I'm not one to give up so easily, even if the odds are against me. This is writing is my passion. I can't just stop, It's just not who I am. And that goes for a lot of other aspects in my life.
You can hear it in your voice, or I can hear it in your voice that, oh shit, if she says she's going to do something, I bet she gets it done.
Oh, yes. You have my word.
So, let tell us a little bit about Grace. Who was she like you? Like,
Yes.
okay.
Grace is a reflection of myself. Absolutely. Just sort of getting over my anxiety and just all of the kind of social neglect of my past. I wanted to write her as a person, as a young woman that is sort of alone in the world, because her father passes away, but then she has a younger brother named Sam in her life, and the two just kind of become each other's. They're able to lean on each other and be there for each other, and I wanted her to have that. I wanted to sort of rewrite my life into a book, like the better version of it, I guess, but also a more tragic version to kind of keep people on their toes. So Grace is me.
And how old is Grace when the book ends, or does that give a meaning or a ending away?
Um, she starts out at 4 and it ends when she's 22.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. Because I didn't know if maybe you predicted the future. Maybe Grace got to be 65 or something, and she's doing
You know
amazing
what? I
things all
did
over the
predict
world.
the future a little bit. Near the end of the book, yeah, it's kind of surreal to me still. Maybe there's some sort of power behind my writing. I don't know, but pretty much everything I've written has come true. So it's amazing. I just feel very lucky.
So, do you? Well, first of all, this the category that the book was in. I think it says right there is young adult. What's that mean? What's the age group for that? Is this going to be in schools, school libraries, and things?
Yes. Yes. So it's for ages 13 to 17, but I've had readers upwards from age 40 to their mid 60s read my book already. It's really for everyone. I really believe it's for everyone because it's the timeline. First of all, the timeline is like it's pretty much the late 50s into the 80s. So a lot of people can kind of relate to that. I wanted to make it as real as possible. I fact check everything from like the clothing to who was president at the time, just stuff like that. So I made sure that it's relatable to kids and to adults.
Yeah. I really am excited to read this. I want to know more about this city, and then I want to know more about. Um, well, here's what I want to know more about. How how can we react to what you said about people kind of shutting you back down after you came out of your shell or tried to come out of your shell? Do you have advice for even kids or for men or for anybody who would shut you down? Like what did that do? What is that doing to our communities and our society and our world?
I really think that people these days are just incredibly self-absorbed, They think that they're the main character of their life and the world. And I think that a lot of us could use just a self-check. We all really need to work on our empathy. Every single one of us could work on our empathy. Think about what you say before you say it. Let people talk, listen intently. If you're not enjoying the conversation, don't just shut them down, Be a good person, be kind. And for kids that are going through what I had to go through, don't take it personally. A happy person does not cut somebody off, does not ignore someone. So you just need to kind of step outside of yourself and realize that it's their problem, that they can't communicate with you or anybody. So just try not to take it personally. I took it personally and it destroyed my self-esteem. But now I know. And so if I could be some sort of advocate for young girls and boys or anyone that just feels like they don't have a voice right now, um, then I'm your girl.
And you also told me earlier that You want to get more people that aren't in STEM into STEM.
Yes, yeah, I think that there should be more girls in the STEM field. A lot of that kind of discouragement and just kind of ignoring women when they want to speak or talk about what they want to do, just just it's not okay. We need to listen to girls. We need to understand that they have goals and that they are valued and that they can do what they say they do. I'm a very persistent person despite everything that I've been through, and I'm not the only one. So we need to be encouraging young women to just go for it and not to be, oh no, you should do ballet or you should become a nurse or a teacher. Not that that's bad or anything, but we need to really break foundation in the next few years, I think. Girls Who Code, Women in STEM, we need that.
We do. We need more women leaders too, in my opinion. Because I don't know, you guys are just so much better at being empathetic and looking. You're better systems thinkers than men are. Men are too analytical and they break things down into components, and women are more intuitive and can say, "Oh, that's going to screw this up in 5 years if we do this." And I just think that um, there are differences between men and women, and I think that that difference would be our strength together. So women on a coding team would create better code. I'm 100% sure of that. Oh, I've
Oh,
seen
I
it.
totally agree.
So, um, what's your? How would you summarize your mission? Is your mission in that activist space? Is your mission being an author, and you might switch to horror novels at any time or whatever? I don't know. What's your plan?
Gosh, I write short stories every single week. I've written horror stories, I've written sci-fi stories, I've written funny stories, love stories. I There really is no end point for me, but as of now, my mission is to I just want my books to reach little girls that feel the way that I did, and hopefully that they can be inspired by it to just push through no matter what, even if you're being suffocated by the smoke around you. Grace was literally in Centralia. You got to keep pushing through, because the grass is greener on the other side. And talking to people, I didn't speak to anyone, and that was on me. But just opening up, talking to people, I want I want young women to take that away from my novel, and I hope that you can make them happier, make their lives better, make them feel like their voice does really deserve to be heard.
I'm a I'm a complete empath. So when you just said that a second ago about the smothering and the smoke around her, I just immediately got that analogy or that metaphor. I mix those two words up like everyone else, but you probably. And that really tugged at my heart there when you said that. Now I'm going to
That's
be
I
seeing
mean,
your
that's the whole
face when I
point.
read. So I'm going to be substituting Sydney instead of Grace and all that when I read it. So, and
Oh,
my wife's a seventh grade teacher, so I'm wondering if it'd probably be good. They'll be 12, 13 years old. Is it too much for them, you think?
I don't think so. If I could have read this as a 12-year-old, there is some language, there's tragedy, but it's I don't think it's going to be too much to handle.
Lansing has a little bit of tragedy and language in it, too. I think they'll be okay as well. I don't know that their school will let it in, but she can sneak it
Yeah,
to them.
we'll see about that.
But more high school age is what the
Yes.
libraries probably that you'd have it in, or that you're going to
Yeah.
have it in. Okay.
Uh-huh. Between 13 and 17. So probably they'll probably start with freshmen, ninth graders.
Okay. It's going to be studied in every classroom around the country before you know it.
God, I hope so. That'd be great. And it'd be good for the just the town in general to get some publicity. I feel like there's got to be so many people that were forced out that are unhappy, and there's got to be a lot of people that were forced out that are so happy that they don't have to live there anymore. So I'm sure that this book will divide the city and the people that live there, but I'm ready for it.
Yeah. So, probably that town was pretty tough to live in before that. I mean, coal miner towns. Being a coal miner is a very rough job. It's a very lot of poor health outcomes, a lot of labor problems, and with the fights with management and putting in unsafe conditions. I'm pro coal miner. I'm not pro. I want to do renewable energy, not stick with what we have. But I know a lot of families where they come from coal miners, and they've had a tragic history, and then this on top of it. I can't believe I didn't know this. It seems like people would be talking about this a lot.
Yes, so do I. And I mean, what Silent Hill, the movie with Sean Bean and oh gosh, I can't remember her name. I won't even try. When that movie came out, there was no real talk about it either. I mean, the whole look of the movie Silent Hill is how the town looked and still does today. And you know, the screenwriter, I really did my research. The screenwriter based it off of that town, but we didn't hear like really anything about it. I'm not really sure how well the movie was received, if that had anything to do with it. But come on, someone made an entire feature film with, you know, this like A-list cast, and nobody talked about it. It just, why not? I don't know, but I'm talking about it now. So
Well,
maybe
thank
you'll
you
get
for
out there.
thank you for talking about it, and thank you for. Well, I don't even know if I have the right to say thank you, but I'm really happy there's people like you out there fighting for young girls, especially getting them into STEM, but especially getting their voice heard, because we can't celebrate our differences if we don't know what our differences are, and we can't find out our differences if we're not speaking.
Exactly. Yes. Being told to speak up is not an easy thing to hear, but it is something that will really, really help you. And no matter what people do, if they try to bring you down, just try to speak a little louder, you know? Get an apple box, stand on it, find your platform, you know?
What do you do every damn day to push this forward? Your mission
I
or whatever.
Yeah, I write something new every single day. And if I do come across like a young girl anywhere, really, I try to just pay a compliment, a random little compliment. I used to work at a hair salon, and there would be these little girls that would come in and they'd be so afraid to have their hair cut. They didn't know how they wanted to look. They were experimenting with, you know, their being feminine and this and that and the other. And so I would always just do my best to make sure, like, hey, this looks great on you. This color would be great, blah, blah, blah. You know, just making sure that, hey, we see you, I see you, and you're going to be fine. And then,
I
of course, I write something every single day. I'm on book 2 now, and the mission is the same.
I want to commend you for those little compliments. I think they are extremely important, and all of us need to do that, especially for underrepresented or shy or, even I tell people all the time, you see kids that you're scared of or you're scared to talk to, at least just say hi and give them a smile, because it can build
Yes.
up.
Yeah, it'll make everyone happy. If you're a kid right now and there's a shy kid in your class that sits alone at lunch every day, just say hi. You know, they might be the coolest person in the world and you have no idea. So you got to start the conversation. Let them speak.
I'm really lucky because I get to talk to a lot of kids before school starts every year, because we give out backpacks and we have different events and stuff like that. And I'm going to remind all those kids exactly what you just said. So, and it's a
Well, thank
perfect
you very
time.
much.
School starts next week, so perfect timing.
Oh, that's
Oh,
right. Yes.
yeah. We daisy chain the shows together. Yesterday on the show. Oh wait, should we be promoting anything else? I put the where to buy the book. I'll look for more stuff. I'll probably put a link to a wiki. Is there a Wikipedia on Centralia?
Yes, there's a Wikipedia on Centralia, Pennsylvania. It's accurate as far as I know. You can look into some archives. If you do want to ever travel to Centralia, please be very, very careful, and please respect the police there. Um, just don't vandalize it, and be respectful of the people that still live there.
Do people vandalize it or something? Or they
Yes.
what they spray paint and stuff?
Yeah, Centralia is actually known for its graffiti highway, which is actually now being covered up and filled in. I don't know how much longer it's going to be really considered a tourist attraction for people like me that just enjoy ruins. Um, but yeah, you can observe, you can take pictures. Don't go on anyone's property, even if the house looks like it's run down. There might be someone living in it. So just, keep an eye out. Be empathetic, basically. Be as empathetic as you can.
When did the explosion happen?
It happened in 1962.
Okay. Because that's what's weird to me is it shows the historical population on the Wikipedia page, and you can see in the 60s it was 50s it was 1900, then 60 was 1400, but even after the explosion, it was still in the above 1,000 for 20 years, and then fell down to 63, and now it says that it's estimated at 11 people in the town.
Right.
So,
yeah, I mean, in the 70s and 80s, there were just families raising their children on such broken foundation. So that's sort of where my idea for the story came from.
It's incredible. So, and thanks for that shout out to protect the place and not be jackasses. You didn't say that, those are my words. So, I completely lost. I went backwards in the show. Sorry about that. We daisy chained the shows together, and yesterday on the show I had Nikki Frazier. She owns a bakery called Sweet Encounter. Really motivated on making foods for birthday parties that where kids have allergens. So a kid with an allergen shows up and can't have cake. She's got them covered. So her question to you is, what's your fondest kitchen memory?
My fondest kitchen memory is making taffy with my great grandmother and just being so tiny that it was really it was like playing tug of war. We all had to hold on each other. I even put my foot up on the table to pull this taffy, and it really triumphant day. And it was all women in the kitchen, so it felt very, very just loving and sweet. And the taffy was amazing. I haven't done it since, but I actually recently found the recipe for it. So my Gigi stands for great grandmother. That's just what we called her. But yeah, that's my happiest memory.
Omar's given a shout out to that question, and I thought it was a great question too. It brought back so many memories. I could smell my memories when she asked me that question yesterday.
Yeah.
And I forgot about making taffy. So I love hearing your answer, because that brings back an even another good memory for me. We used to make taffy with my grandparents too.
Oh.
So that used to be a thing, everybody.
Yeah.
Tomorrow on the show, I have a gentleman. I don't know him at all, but I'll get to know him on the show, kind of like you and I today. And his name is Lior Ron, and he does fair cash offers. He buys houses. So he might be a little bit of a landlord, which means to me it's going to be, hopefully he's a nice guy. But what question would you like me to pass on to him?
My question for him is, what is something that you do a lot that you really wish that you did not?
And I love that question. It seems like it's such an obvious question that we should ask people when we're trying to get to know them. And nobody's ever asked that. Your show 350, and nobody's ever asked that question. Nobody's asked Nikki's question before either, but it's very rare that I don't get a repeat by now. Let me ask you that. What's something you do a lot that you wish you did not?
Sleep in earrings.
Hurt your ear?
It could. That's the thing. It could tear it. I've been careless about it, but I'm trying.
Mine is definitely smoking. I started up again during the pandemic. I had quit for a while, and such a stupid thing to do.
Times are tough.
So, yeah. It's not motivating me to want to quit, though. Your question's not. I'm sorry.
Well, I had to give it my
I'll,
shot.
I'll get there though. Um, Happiness, sadness, joy, hope, and or love. Which word or words would you like to talk about?
Happiness. I'd like to talk about happiness. I'm not sure if there's anyone out there that's listening right now that has ever written anything before that is a writer, but it's a really big source of happiness for me. How I overcame all of my anxiety and just being really quiet was through my writing alone. And that could be anything, just like you could write one word over and over again. You can write a shopping list. You can write what you see in front of you, count the tiles on the ceiling, anything. Just writing it down, I promise you, it will make you feel so much better. It will make you happy. And the more that you do it, the more that you'll improve and you'll see that, you're growing as a person. So if you're in search of happiness, go pick up a pencil and find some paper.
You know, that's funny that you say that because my favorite teacher in high school was my AP English teacher, and every day he'd put something in front of us. So it might be a painting, it might be a poem, it might be a sculpture, it might be a can of soup or anything, and just 10 minutes write whatever comes to your mind. And that was I remember how happy that would make me, how relaxed that would make me, and how that is one of my favorite experiences that I ever had in school. Was that I think it's what's it called? Just not brain dump, but like a free flowing subconscious, unconscious. I don't know.
I call it brain vomit, but that's not as nice as brain dump, I think. I don't know.
Dump, vomit. They're both kind of out there. I think. Um, but that's super good advice, and that goes for everybody, right? Whether you work in a
Yeah.
factory or are a writer, or
Anyone, anyone of any age, when you're down, writing really does help. Or typing, just anything to just, you got to let it out, whatever it is.
where do you find inspiration in all those little girls you compliment, or everywhere?
Um, I guess I sort of, I mean, I find inspiration in a lot of my favorite authors. I've been really lucky enough to be able to connect with them over the years. An author, Maggie Stiefvater, she actually worked at my middle school, and I just fell in love with her books. They were young adult books, and they helped me so much as a little girl. Also, Dominic Holland, he's an author and a comedian. His stories are best described as adult fairy tales. Only in America is one of my favorite books. It's just written so well, and it's written in a woman's perspective, but written by a man. And I just think that he did it so well. So that kudos to him. But I also find inspiration in myself. I am now that happy, strong woman that I wanted to be so badly. So, man, if I had a time machine, I would go back and just give little me a big hug and tell her, hey, it's going to be all right. You're going to write a book about it. So it's worth it.
You just did go back in time and give her a little hug, didn't you?
Up here.
Thank you so very much for coming on and telling your story.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
I think you're what I've known. It's a short time, but I think you're amazing. I can't wait to get this book and read it. I also like I I need my books in real life. If it's an audio book, I daydream and drift off and lose myself. So I'd be on page two, and the book would be over pretty soon. I'd be like, oh crap, I was thinking about something else. Um, and so, yeah, I can't wait to get my hands on it.
Well, thank you so much. I really hope you enjoy it.
I will. So every damn day, tomorrow at 2, Saturday at 2, all the days at 2 up until September 11th. And thank you for doing show 350. We stop at 365 and take a break. So we almost got there, or we're almost there. 1 year every single day.
Well, I'm glad to be here.
What would you like to take us out with?
Um, Again, just, be mindful of what you say, be mindful of the people around you. If you're out at a crowded bar or something and someone's trying to say something, but no one can hear them, be that person that walks up to them and says, sorry, what did you say? Just, make sure that everyone around you is being involved, because we all share the same rock and it matters.
Words matter. Thank you so very much.
Thank
All right,
you.
everyone. That's a wrap. The link to the book is in the comments. Get the book, read the Wikipedia about this small town, and maybe there's only 10 or 11 people there right now, but there's a whole history, a culture, and people's probably spread all over the world that lived in that town at some point. So there's still some love that's deserved to be given. Thank you, Sydney.
Thank you.